They say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and maybe you kicked off the year with the intention of making it better than the last. More holidays and vacation time, more profit, and a business that's way more fun to own. Tune into today's podcast where we talk through the preloaded year process that will help you make this year the best yet. Alrighty, team, Tony Fraser-Jones here, the host of the Profitable Tradie Podcast. Cool to be hanging out today here with my good mate, Phil Smith. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, always good.
Yeah.
Coming in nice and happy today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Mate, had an interesting experience this morning.
Oh, yeah? Tell me about it.
Well, I do a workout in the gym at home.
Yeah.
I need
Lifting the old 1 and 2 kilos?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's on a good day.
Yeah.
Curl 2 kgs.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, slow down, Arnold.
Oh, man. The pump. Anyway, I have to back the car out of the garage, the shed, and to give me enough room because I'm quite large.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I backed the car out and there was this bird standing on the driveway, just standing there like catatonic. And there was a few feathers around it. And I saw this cat about 4 meters away from it, ready to pounce. And as I backed the car out, the bird didn't move at all. So that's a bit weird. So I got out of the car and then looked at the bird and I ran it and clapped my hands and it was just sitting there catatonic, but its eyes were blinking like it was still alive.
What?
But it wouldn't go anywhere.
That's weird, bro.
And I felt pretty stink because I knew that bird was like toast.
Yeah.
But I just let nature take its course.
So naturally you ran it over and just...
No, I didn't run it over. I just went back about 10 minutes later and the bird was gone and the cat was looking real sly.
And the feathers were looking a little bit more plentiful than before.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, that is weird, man.
Anyway.
It's like a deer in the headlights.
It was.
Yeah. Well,
funny but true.
Yeah, interesting way to start the morning.
No use to the podcast, I thought it was interesting.
Everybody listening, I'm sure, is just on the edge of their seat, just wanted to know whether or not the bird actually got eaten.
It must have.
Yeah,
didn't look like it was flying anywhere. Anyway, what are we talking about today, Chief?
All right, well, we're talking about a really simple and powerful process called the preloaded year. So by the time most business owners get to the new year, in terms of the whirlwind of jobs, projects, taxes, team, paperwork, basically it's in full flow and your good intentions to do things differently are already really getting blown apart. So the result is we feel too busy to take action on the goals that we might have set in the new year. And the preloaded years where we basically plan out our entire year and get those important things into the calendar before the year starts so that we get a jump on the year instead of the year getting a jump on us.
Yeah, it's about getting in the driver's seat. And I think it's important, even at this time of year, when we're thinking about holidays, maybe you've just had some holidays or a break, vacation. Think of the preloaded year like this. If you try and organise a holiday, say, 2 weeks before it's going to happen, maybe in the middle of the year in June or something. And it's really tough to do that because your calendar's already filled up with stuff. Might be jobs, other appointments, just a bunch of stuff just fills your calendar up.
Yeah.
But if you block it out at the start of the year, you block it out, you book all your vacations for the year, and even you pay the deposits on the holiday that you're going to have, then the calendar's blocked, it's booked, and nothing else can get in there. And then the break or the vacation happens. Yeah. And that's really the basic concept of the preloaded year. You lock it in to start with.
Yeah, that's the one. Makes it a lot easier because you can just kind of blissfully follow along with the plan you made rather than every week it's like, I'll try fit something in. But obviously, as we mentioned, you never tend to do that, right? You never actually have the time.
Yeah, I mean, stuff just doesn't get fitted in.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's my experience anyway. And as my kids get older, less and less stuff gets fitted in.
Yeah, 100%.
Got bad news for you on that front, mate.
Yeah, so I get all that to look forward to.
You have happy days.
Yeah.
And it's great for vacations and holiday breaks, but it applies to so much more in your business. And I really want to dig into this today because I think it's a super simple but very, very powerful concept.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely for the holidays, but as we know, cash flow does follow calendar too, so I'm sure we can make that work. So
I love that. Cash flow follows calendar.
It is a good saying. So, hey, mate, I'm sure you have a story to kick us off.
Look, I live in a small town. And probably about 20 years ago, the trip from where I live, Hamilton, to bigger city in New Zealand, Auckland, was you had to sort of go through the suburbs of Hamilton. You had to go through a bunch of roundabouts and arterial routes and intercity traffic and people just commuting across town. You'd get out of Hamilton and then you'd get on this kind of one-lane main road and you'd have to go through every tin pot town between here and Auckland. And you'd have to slow down to 50 kilometres or 30 miles an hour, depending on where you are. And the trip took ages. It was just painful.
Now, for those of you that are, a little bit younger than 85, and imagine the trip from Auckland to Hamilton, if you've made it now, I mean, it is actually a lot simpler these days. But, back in Tony's day, that road was a lot A lot thinner. There wasn't the big expressways.
Well, I mean, they just got rid of the horses. You could smell horse poo the whole way.
I didn't know if the wheel had been invented yet, but anyway, we digress.
Why are you such a dickhead?
Because it's fun.
Okay.
All right. Carry on with your story.
Anyway, yeah, I thought you were going to take the whole story over there.
No, I wanted to, but I'll let you have it.
Granted, you are pretty good at telling stories yourself. I wonder about the truth of some of them, but that's all good.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good yarn, mate.
Anyway, now today, in the last few years, there's an expressway, a 2-lane highway, right from basically my house all the way to Auckland. It's 110 kilometres or 70 miles an hour the whole way, and it's just super simple. So all you need to do is you jump on the highway, you hit the cruise control, and the Audi SQ7, which is nice, purrs like a
relax,
like a Jaguar. And you just go, and it's simple, straightforward as. And that's a little bit like the preloaded year. If you just try and fit stuff in as you go, you get distracted by all the shiny objects. It's kind of roundabout. You're going back and forward. But if you set yourself up for success at the start of the year and lock everything down, then you just need to go and action it. It's like hopping on the highway and just cruising.
Yeah, totally. Makes it a lot easier, and you can just get from A to B, not just faster, but with less stuff around and frustration, which I think is actually part of it. Like, speed is one action, or one thing that comes from it, but like for me, I think all the arterial routes, so to speak, and little cul-de-sacs you get stuck down, it's slow, but it's extremely frustrating, man. And so I think, lot more of an enjoyable trip when you can just plug and play.
Well, it is, and I think you actually get to the destination as well, because if you've got to take every little twist and turn in the road and you sidetracked all the way, often you never get to where you want to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, you used to get stuck in Huntly and then just stay there for the night, didn't you?
Don't hate on Huntly. If you're not in New Zealand, Huntly's a great place.
If
you live in Huntly, we love you.
I don't live far from Huntly, but anyway, here we go. Mate, if we don't preload our year, we're going to run into some problems, right? So, like,
I think the key thing is you actually get caught in the whirlwind of life and your business. And there's a lot going on every day, the urgent stuff that pops up, jobs, cash flow, team issues, grumpy clients, whatever. That just sucks you in, and that becomes the focus rather than the bigger picture. So you get stuck in the day-to-day. You get really frustrated because you feel like you're not making the progress you want. And the progress in your business stalls. It's really difficult to grow because you're just kind of lurching from one thing to the next and not really moving forward.
Yeah, well, you're running from fire to fire rather than building to building.
Totally, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. So on the other hand, if we get it right, what happens?
Well, I like that story of the car and the journey. You're actually in the driver's seat, and you're heading in the direction you want to, rather than being pushed around by the whirlwind all the time. You got really clear pathway on what progress looks like. So you've got a roadmap for what you need to do this year to make things happen. You got clarity and focus, and you can schedule in the fun as well. That's really important. We have a saying here at Profitable Tradie that rest ethic makes work ethic.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't program in your rest, you're going to run out of steam.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody needs a break. Wouldn't drive a car forever without servicing it. Also, some people try and wonder why it breaks down. Well, it's the same with your body and your mind. You got to take time to recreate.
Well, those are the types of things, actually, if we mention that, those are the types of things that tend to get neglected. When you are in the whirlwind, you don't just neglect your holidays, but you neglect all the stuff that looks after yourself. You neglect exercise, you neglect healthy eating, you neglect, looking after your mental game, you really neglect all the stuff that's going to help you to keep crushing the business side of things.
Well, and you're in the mindset of, I'll just get through this thing, or just get through this project, or this day, or this job, or just get this next person hired, whatever it is.
And then things will be easier.
It'll be easy.
Once it's easier, then I'll exercise. Then I'll look into a better diet. Then I'll look into, working on my mindset. I'll look into all of that stuff once we get through this busy patch. And it's, as you say, it's that when-then thinking. when this happens, then I'll make the change. But then never actually comes, does it?
Well, and like I said, at the top, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
That's right. That's right. So if we calendar this stuff, it actually makes it doable. So how do we do this? I mean, it's simple-ish concept,
it's
but
really
there are
simple.
some nuances.
I mean, probably at this something that we do as coaches at Profitable Trading with our $1 Million Tradie clients is if people have got issues with getting stuff done or issues with their business, we often say, hey, let's have a look at your calendar.
Yeah.
And you'll see that their calendars are completely jammed full, and there's nothing in the calendar that's really going to help them improve the business. It's all business as usual stuff. And that's a really good sort of insight into why the preloaded year is important. So the big idea really is we just schedule all the super important stuff into your calendar for the year before it starts.
Yeah.
You know, the concept is you finish the year on paper before you start the year. You want to get everything written down so it's planned.
Yeah.
So literally it's just a great big calendar where you plot all the important stuff before the year starts. And that could be your vacations, holidays. I think that's like crucial to get in. That's super important. It might be your team days, trainings you want to have happen, strategy meetings, performance review processes, all that sort of stuff. You actually lock it in the calendar and then it can happen.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's the thing is, if you're not really sure where to start, I think start with just some categories. You know, as you say, team days, it's like, well, what are all the little team rhythms that I need to have in place in order to make sure that my culture is awesome, that, you know, my planning process with the team is right, that everybody's, you know, getting training and development. Like, what are the things that need to happen? And then block them all in, because otherwise you'll probably neglect them. Vacations, you know, we've talked about that. You got to block them and book them, pay for the deposit, or pay for the whole thing. Then you really can't back out. Sometimes you can get a deposit back, but if you pay in full, you can't get anything. So now you're going. Like strategy meetings, you know, business improvement projects. You can put it all in there, and as a result, like you'll actually do these things. You know, plan in, you know, personal health stuff. So if you want to go away and, I don't know, do an exercise boot camp or something, you know, put it in advance. You know, it's just going to make it a lot easier for you to actually accomplish these things. So start with the categories, think of the specifics, and then pop them in the calendar.
Yeah, and I think the concept here to really get our heads around is the big rocks concept. And so there's some things in your life that are the big rocks. And we might have talked about this before on the podcast, but this is super important. And getting this concept is going to help you hugely with success. So if you think about a jar, you've got a jar sitting on the table and you've got a bunch of big rocks, you've got a bunch of pebbles and a bunch of sand. You know, how do you get all that stuff in the jar? Well, most people, like, you know, don't think about it too much. They just chuck the sand in, chuck some pebbles in, chuck some rocks in, and funnily enough, they can't fit everything in. Yeah. You know, there's just not enough time to do what they want to. And maybe if you're listening, you feel like that with your life and your business. You know, you're just not enough time to do everything you want.
Yeah.
And you don't seem to make progress, and it's just the same old. But the way to get all that stuff in is to put the big rocks in first. So you get the big rocks, you put them in the jar, and then you get the pebbles, you put them in, you shake it around, and they fit around the big rocks. And then you get the sand and you pour that in, and you just shake it around so it fills in all the gaps.
Yeah.
But if you did it in the reverse order, it's not going to work.
No way.
And the thing about the sand, that is the whirlwind stuff of your life. That's the urgent stuff, the crises on jobs, you know, the team members giving you issues, cash flow problems, all those issues that come up every day. That's the sand in your life. And if you put that in first, you're not going to have time for the big rocks and the pebbles, you know, the recreation, the strategy, the working on yourself as a business owner, you know, improving your learning and stuff. That stuff's just not going to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
And so the preloaded year is get those big rocks in, get them in the calendar.
Yeah.
Don't worry so much about the pebbles and the sand. They're going to be there.
Yeah.
They're going to get your attention.
Yep.
But if you don't put the big rocks in, they ain't.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like, I mean, there's stuff that does come up in terms of, you know, sand, which might still need to happen. And I think the big thing is that sometimes I get people to throw that analogy back at me and they say, hey, but what if I get all the big rocks in and I get most of the pebbles in, but some of it actually doesn't fit? And you know, the first obvious thing is, well, I'd rather have the big rocks done than the pebbles or the sand. That's, you know, going to be more important. But the reality is when you've got a business, is the minute you have staff, you actually have more than one jar. So it's the kind of thing where, like, as far as personal time, hey man, if I've calendared in all my big rocks and the sand and the pebbles don't all fit, well, that's cool. They can go in someone else's jar. That's why you have staff. And as far as the business in general, when you're preloading your year, it's the kind of thing where sometimes those pebbles and sand, they might need to happen, but do they need to happen now? They could happen later. But we can make those fit somewhere where there's a gap rather than giving them priority and pride of place, which is what happens by default if we don't preload the year, which is the whole issue.
100%. That's a great analogy. There are, you know, multiple jars, and there's another part to this too. If you do put the big rocks in, those are the things that it can actually make a difference to your life and your business. And if you honor those and implement those, you'll find that you can create a bigger jar.
Yeah, 100%.
You build a bigger jar, so you build a better team. You get a hiring process in place. You build some pricing templates so that pricing is way easier for your business.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get better juice out of your estimators or yourself, whoever's doing the pricing. Your jar's suddenly got bigger.
Yeah. Or either that or you've shrunk the pebbles.
Yeah,
because,
or the sand is less because
made
you've got
those things easier.
better
There's
systems.
less sand, smaller pebbles. It all just fits, right?
Yeah, classic example is, you know, if you schedule in every week your work on your business time and your preloaded year, and that's in there, then maybe you're going to build some systems and some processes that make your out in the field work better quality.
Yeah. More
And
efficient.
more efficient, therefore
Yeah.
there's less fires to fight on jobs, there's less sand.
Yeah. Less phone calls from the guys because
100%.
they're better trained because you've scheduled in the training days. They don't have the issues. They don't call so often. So like, I think that's the thing is the investment in the big rocks actually helps the sand become easier to fit anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got to prioritize it. And I think I really like that saying about how cash flow follows calendar. So I think,
man.
should we talk about that a little bit
Get
more?
into it, man.
Yeah, so like for me, I think the big thing is that there's always results that you want to get in your business, and there's things that need to happen in order to get those results. And I think often we can just neglect the actual things that will move the dial. So, like you say, if you've missed the analogy so far, and I don't know how you would have, but some of the big rocks, things like I'm going to improve my pricing this year. I'm going to make some templates that's going to make that faster. Or I'm going to put this system in on site, which is going to save everybody, 5 minutes a job or something like that. And so obviously over every job, like this is going to really add up. If I just say, hey, I really want to improve my margins this year, it probably won't happen. Whereas if I can actually calendar in, this is where I'm going to make those pricing templates. This is where I'm going to get that QA checklist. This is where I'm going to, flow chart the process so that everyone can move a bit faster. This is where I'm going to organize getting materials delivered to site instead of everyone running around picking them up. All those little improvements that you might be looking at in order to improve your margins, if you calendar in when you're going to actually make those systems, they actually happen and you get the result. And so the cash flow that you wanted, the result figuratively, will follow the actions that you've calendared in to happen. And I'm sure everybody listening will have some kind of experience with having, as you say, those good intentions. And you're like, I'm going to do this when I get a minute. And you just don't get a minute and the action doesn't happen and the result doesn't follow or the cash flow doesn't follow the calendar. So I love that Alan Kate quote, which you might have heard before. And the best way to predict the future is to create it. But the thing is you need to create yourself the time to create the future you want.
Yeah, that's a great quote. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And you do that by implementation, which requires you to plan it out and put the time aside to do it.
100%.
Killer.
Yeah.
One other thing that's super helpful with this is if you preload your year, you have to think once.
Yeah.
So you do all the hard work of planning once. And look, putting the preloaded year together can take a little bit of time and thought. And that's fine. It's worth it, right?
Yeah.
But you do it once. You do it at the start of the year, and then you've got everything mapped out. It's like the highway is already built.
Yeah.
All you need to do is hop in your car, get on the highway, push cruise control, and off you go.
Well, I've got to say, Tony, it's actually even better than a highway. Like I've been thinking about that. It's better than a highway. It's almost more like a train track. Because in a highway, I might still need Google Maps. I've still got to watch the road. There's still there might be a bit of thinking involved here. Whereas with a train track, I can just lay train tracks from my house to your house, and then I get on the train and I can go to sleep and I'll wake up in the destination. Which, if you preload your year well enough, you can almost blissfully just follow along without even thinking.
Yeah. Well, you have a bunch of appointments that you just have to show up to.
Yeah, you just turn up where you're supposed to be, and you don't have to worry about the route anymore. So again, like on the train, I can read a book, I can listen to a podcast. You can listen to this podcast if you want.
Good podcast.
Yeah, it's a good podcast there. Like, subscribe, follow, share.
Thank you.
But my point is I can focus on the other stuff that I need to get done in my day because I'm not focusing on where the train's going. It just goes there. You know what I mean? And I think that's the same thing if we preload well.
Yeah, it's gold. And then once you've got your preloaded year planned out, it's as simple as getting a big. We just get a big sheet.
Yeah.
Like one of those big calendars you can buy.
Wall planner
type thing, and you just mark the stuff in. Yeah. Simple as that.
Yeah, and you can put it in digital calendars after. But I think a wall planner is a good way to start with.
Yep.
Makes things easy in my mind.
Yeah.
You can see it more visually.
Yeah, and if you're listening, you want to get into this, you're excited by this, that's awesome because it's going to help you heaps. Just start small. Start with your holidays, maybe your key strategy meetings for your team, key trainings for your team, performance reviews, maybe team fun days, culture things. Just get those in the calendar.
Yeah.
And then maybe the next time you do it, the next year you can add some other stuff, but make a start on it is the key. And once you've got it, you just give it a stress test. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
It's not too crazy.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then you just work the plan.
And obviously deconflict. And I think this is a big one. Is like if you're looking at
I've put in
a bunch of holidays. Or I've put in this big team strategy meeting. I realize that's in the middle of school holidays, and all my guys have kids, and that's just going to be a really tough time for everyone to be thinking clearly. Just have a think. Or hey, I've booked this big team fun day right over the top of my son's birthday. Like, not a good idea. Just deconflict. Put in any other key dates and just see, have I ruined anyone's birthday? Have I conflicted with school holidays, those kinds of things, just the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deconflict, it's a good word.
Deconflict. Yeah.
Yeah. De-escalate the conflict.
Yeah. And then once we've done all this and we've preloaded the year, then what do?
We're good to go. We just implement, work hard.
Work the plan.
We've done it.
Yeah.
Work the plan.
That's it.
Happy days.
Happy days. Well, should we land this plane?
Let's do it. So do the hard work once. Lock in the important stuff into your calendar before you begin, and you'll not only make the business better, but you're going to enjoy your life way more too. Thanks heaps for listening, team, and we'll catch you all again next time on the Profitable Tradie Podcast.
See you later.
Hey, I hope you liked the video. Check out all the other videos in the channel and like and subscribe.